The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T, here with a recap of season 2, episode 1 of the summer series. Was very fortunate to have Robert Littal of Black Sports Online as my first guest of the summer series in season 2. It was probably more of an interview for me. It was pretty cool to see some of the comments in the comment section of people that enjoyed the interview. I told my wife when I did it, I wasn't sure if this was going to appeal to the masses. And I was pleased with the turnout and how many people viewed the video and the comments that were in the comment section. So shout out to everybody who checked the video out. What I'm going to do here and what I'm going to try to do with every single one of these summer series episodes is react to them and kind of talk about what some of the things that were said in the interview, go through the comment section, talk about some of the things that were said in the comment section, and then move on. So Robert Littal is the owner and founder of Black Sports Online. And he covers a multitude of things. He is, I feel like he is the TMZ and the like media takeout and, you know, all of the different sites on IG that follow the tabloids and he gets all of that, but more so on the sports and athletics side. But he's all over the place, right? And so he dibbles and dabbles in the entertainment field, does a lot of that, does the sports thing. His tentacles extend all over the place. And I've been following him for quite some time. And it was just good to kind of sit down and have a conversation with him, kind of pick his brain and see kind of where he is in his process and his maturation. I've watched him grow over the better part of a decade plus from when he first started to where he is now. And he kind of talked about that in the interview and where his, you know, mental is right now and how social media isn't something that he loves to frequent anymore like he once did. But it is still something that he is quite invested in, obviously, because his brand is kind of surrounded with social media between his website, which is very, very popular, and social media, which is the traffic that I think a lot of his traffic is driven there by his social media posts. So whether he wants to be on social media or not, he almost has to because of the business that he runs. That said, you know, we talked about a lot of the discrepancies that are taking place, and he would have a lot more insight into that than I would. But I've seen it from afar, and I understand the dynamic there. And he talked about the lack of, you know, Black males who have come up through the journalistic ranks on television, and it's a dying breed. It really is. And when you look at, you know, I got a kick out of it. I think I brought this up on my podcast maybe 2-3 weeks ago when he first said it. One of the Morris twins was on First Take. I just happened to be at the gym working out, and so it was on the TV, and he called somebody a YN, and he was talking about like one of the teams in the playoffs, and I was like, did he just say what I think he said on national television? And it started a conversation about like what are we doing? Who are we putting on television now, right? And you know, ESPN has always tried to be on the cutting edge of things. I feel like they have failed in doing that for the better part of over a decade now. They've kind of fallen back. Like there's just no competition for them. You know, when I was growing up, and this is showing my age a bit, and I wanted to bring this up with Robert to see if he would recall this, but when I was growing up, there were several different outlets where you could get your sports news from. All right. There was Headline Sports. I'm showing my age. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said Headline Sports. There was oh my God, there was 2 more sports channels, but obviously those fell by the wayside because ESPN was and still is king, but there were other places where you could get, sports content from. But ESPN was the king of the highlight. They had the best personalities, and so they ultimately won out in those wars. And sort of like the WWF or now WWE, there were other, places you could go to watch wrestling, ECW, WCW, but ultimately WWF, now WWE, was the best place to wrestle. It was the most popular, and eventually it gobbled up all of the smaller iterations and corporations and, monopolized the sport. I think the one that Chris Jericho runs or whatever it's called now is out there, but it pales in comparison, right? WWE is where you want to be. Same thing with ESPN, but they're always chasing, it feels like, the trends, right? They're trying to be cool, ESPN is. And it's not working. For lack of a better phrase, it's not working. And so we talked about some of those things. We talked about Stephen A. Smith a little bit. He's a polarizing figure, obviously. And, all of the different dynamics that go on and some of the things that happen behind the scenes. So it was a really interesting conversation. And then, I wanted to ask him, and he watches just about every sport. So I asked him about boxing. He's a big boxing fan, much like myself. Asked him about Vegas and what is the environment like on a big fight weekend in Vegas, and is it all that it's chalked up to be? And so that was a conversation. We talked NBA, finals and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. We talked about like the NBA has a dilemma. ESPN is a part of that. The finals and the low ratings, despite a really competitive series. So we were all over the place. But I ultimately, at the end, wanted to get in a football question because he's what you would consider national media, right? He's not local. He's not a fan of this team. And sometimes we live in our little bubble. And so it is really good to get some of the national opinion, even though the national opinion can be redundant. It can contain lots and lots of low-hanging fruit. You still need to hear it. And you never know. Once in a while, you'll catch a gem out there. If you watch the video, you could see how annoyed I was because he, being of the national, mindset, came with the low-hanging fruit thing when it came to Jaden. And we had already been talking for too long. I didn't want to attack him on that subject matter. So I just let it go. But I was biting my tongue. Oh my God, I was biting my tongue, my lip, and every damn thing. Cheek, the inside of my cheeks and I wanted to say something so bad, and you could see it in my face. But I was like, no, because if I do this, if I go down this road, one of two things is going to happen. Either this is going to turn into another 15, 20 minutes, which we've already talked for long enough, or I'm going to say something that I don't need to say. And not that I was going to be disrespectful or anything like that. I would never do that to a guest that is coming here and blessing the summer series with their presence. But it could have turned into a back and forth, and I wasn't looking for that, right? And I don't think he was going to stand on business if I would have, said something about it. But he may have. And if he did, who knows where that could have gone, right? So I was like, nah, I'll just, I'll let him have it. And that's his opinion, right? That's how he feels. But, if you want to, get my gears grinding, as a member of the national media, run with low-hanging fruit, right? Especially when it comes to my quarterback, you know. So yeah, that one, and then he had the audacity to make it seem like Bo Nix was on the same, even close to Jaden Daniels. Like I thought Bo Nix would be, and he is good. And I think that's a great fit. And I said when he was drafted with all the quarterbacks, like Bo Nix was to Denver with Sean Payton was the best fit of all the quarterbacks, pairing them with a head coach, because I felt like he was Drew Brees light, right? Like a great value Drew Brees with probably better athleticism. He stood on Caleb Williams being the most talented of the group. I vehemently disagree with that now. When the draft happened last year, I thought that might be true, that Caleb Williams possessed the most talent. I do not believe that now. Obviously, having watched Jaden Daniels, I underrated all the things that he could do. And so he stood on business, though. I wasn't going to question him because, again, that would have either done one of two things, and I didn't want to go down that road. But it was good to talk to him. It was great to have his presence on the summer series. And so let's take a look at the comment section of this video, react to these comments very quickly. We won't spend a ton of time on these. So Recoiling Death Spasm writes, been looking forward to your new summer series. Enjoyed the heavy hitters you interviewed last year, Louie. And I'm going to bring the heat again this year. And it's going to be some heavy hitters again. Some of the ones that I had from a year ago, possibly. We'll see. Still trying to get in contact with people. And some people that I may not have talked to last year, obviously. So either way, whether it's people that I'm recycling and talking to again, or some people that are brand new, like, Robert Littal, it's going to be fire either way, right? HTTC, right? FYI, Lou, just wanted to tell you I'm enjoying this episode. Great content. Really appreciate that. And I had a lot of fun conducting this interview here. And again, I thought this one was going to be more for me and not for you. So I was really pleased that a lot of you enjoyed this interview, because I definitely did as well. Solid God, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, yes, sir, St. Louis, stand up. All right. So that, I did not know he was from St. Louis. Probably should have known that, but I thought because of his Ohio State fandom, and I knew he went to college there, but I thought he grew up there as well. I just was under the assumption that he grew up in Ohio. I was wrong. He's from St. Louis. And I should have known that, because I think when they had the situation in St. Louis years ago, he was all over that, because that was near and dear to his heart, because it was close to home. But I don't know why I forgot that. So, Long Lost Lord, right? Robert Littal was a name I'd seen all over the place, but never knew what he was about. I'm very impressed by both of you brothers and the work you do. Amazing episode. Keep up the great content, Lou. And this is partly what some of the summer series is about, maybe introducing you to some people and some platforms that you aren't aware of. Last year, Ari, who is a giant in the business now, I mean, he's blowing up. He's interviewing owners and GMs and players, and so his reach is long as well within the NFL realm. I brought him on last year because a lot of you don't know Ari Meroff. So hopefully now that Robert Littal has been up here, maybe you'll frequent his page and his website and things of that nature and keep tabs on him. Off to Another World, right? As a Buckeye myself, I know exactly what you mean, Robert. I actually went to school and played against Chris Carter at Middletown, showing my age, LOL. Great start to the summer series, Louie. So you are sounds like you're from Ohio. So that's what's up. And you definitely are showing your age if you played Chris Carter in high school. So that's pretty cool. Off to Another World also writes, classic take of the year. I'm married. You can't walk around with 6 phones. That needs to be a part of your summer series classic compilation video at the end of the series. I asked him, did he have 6 phones? Because this man he sees everything. He doesn't miss anything. And I'm like, how do you keep up with all that is going on, especially with the news cycle and the way that everything is? We live in this microwavable society where everything is the latest and greatest, and things happen so rapidly. And one thing happens and the next thing happens and the next thing happens. And this is a big thing, but something else comes and pushes that out of the way. But he doesn't miss a thing, right? And so he said, no, I got 1 phone. I can't be having 6 phones. I'm married. So and it was a joke when I said that, but his response was awesome. Raymond Smith says, am I the only one who thinks Robert Littal sounds like Busta Rhymes? I didn't get that, but somebody else clearly in the comment section felt the same way that you did. So that's cool. I didn't think about it and listening to him. I didn't get that, but that's funny. Off to Another World writes, years ago, my marketing professor said there are 75 million people on this planet that think just like you. Your job is to figure out ways to tap into just 1% by being yourself. That is so true, right? Like in order to do what it is that all these content creators that you watch do, the best thing you can do is be you. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be something you're not. Don't try to fit in with the trends and things that are going on. Don't go chasing trends. Just be you. Authentically you. People can see right through a fake. They know when someone's putting on an act. They know when someone is being ingenuous. Be you. And if they don't love you, then it is what it is. Sometimes they don't choose you, right? But as long as you've got people who enjoy your content, speak to that crowd, speak to that audience. Don't go chasing an audience that doesn't necessarily love what you do and who you are and what you represent. Because I've always told people this, your content won't be for everyone. I know my content isn't for everyone. And that's okay. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. Off to Another World also writes, this is really good here. He said, I purchased a place in Vegas for the sole purposes of Airbnb in it for big fights, along with getting away for the winter. I could charge astronomical prices, but now it's definitely not the same. But to that, UFC corporate is within eyeshot of my spot, but I'd be damned if I'm going to open my spot to that demographic. Crazy, loves to drink and fight too much. That is interesting because UFC, I was just having this conversation with Boss Man and my son over the weekend and I think it was kind of because of the conversation that was had on this show that prompted me to talk about it with them, that UFC has overtaken, and I think me and Robert got into that discussion during the show, that UFC has taken over boxing in this country. Like, boxing is no longer the most popular fighting sport, right? Once upon a time, boxing was king of all sports, including football, basketball, baseball, etc. Baseball was America's pastime, but everyone loves physicality and brutality. And that's a timeless tradition, going all the way back to when the gladiators used to fight to the death, right? People love being entertained with brutality, and boxing was served that purpose for so many years. Even when the country was torn with racism, they joined together for a big fight, right? Because fighting was something that everyone enjoyed. And it stayed that way, where boxing was king probably until, I'd say, the 90s is when you probably saw this meteoric shift. The NBA became huge with, Magic, Bird, Michael kind of taking that torch from Bird and Magic and running with it and turning the NBA into this global sport. And then the boxing was still high grossing, still king in the in that lane, right, of competition, physical competition like that, fighting, if you will. I can't think of like a technical term for how you would place that, but it was still king in multiple countries. But as fighters and promoters got more involved, and then the fighters stopped wanting to fight each other, and we stopped seeking out the best, and instead we're just looking to have a 0 in the right hand column. It became a sport that felt cowardice. It didn't feel like the sport we grew up loving. And then a lot of people that would box, back in the day were like, I'm not boxing. I'm going to go play football. I'm going to go play basketball. And so you lost a lot of those athletes, and then you didn't have the same, it didn't produce the way that it once did. And then by the time you looked up, the NFL just became massive. I mean, the NFL took off, smoked everybody, created this massive distance between itself and second place. And then, you look up again, and all of a sudden there's no American heavyweights anymore. There are no real attractions in the U.S. market from a boxing standpoint. You got certain guys. Floyd Mayweather was the last big draw. We'll show up for a Bud Crawford fight, but he pales in comparison to Floyd Mayweather. He was the last huge American draw, right? And fighters used to fight, and he mentioned this. Robert Littal mentioned that fighters used to fight 4 times a year, 3-4 times a year. Guys are fighting twice a year now. Like, you barely see them. They're fighting nobodies. Like, I can't tell you, Canelo. He's on. There's so many places now where you got to catch the fight. It used to be on HBO. They were accessible. Now they're on. Canelo signed this massive deal like 7-8 years ago to fight on DAZN. And I don't have DAZN. I'm not getting DAZN. I don't want to see Canelo fight that bad, right? So it just became harder and harder to access boxing. Thank God for Top Rank and putting it back on ESPN, so at least you could see something. Because with HBO and Showtime getting out of the game, that was one of the worst things for boxing. And UFC just continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. And now that's taken over. Like, that has surpassed boxing. And now that is the main draw in the US from a physicality fighting standpoint. And if you want to still make that money, man, I mean, that's a great hustle to have a property there, right? And now, being that you're at the age you're at, you might be more concerned with upholding that property, keeping it in good standing, and making sure you can still use it when you are ready to use it in the wintertime, and not as concerned about making money off of it. But if you are, the UFC crowd is where you're going to be able to make that money. And that's the thing that's taking over Vegas now, those fights. So something to think about. DeMark, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, enjoyed the interview, Lou. Been following BSO for a while myself. Good stuff. That's awesome. It's awesome. Glad I could bring him on, and someone like yourself who has been enjoying his content for quite some time. Bringing him here and kind of meshing our two worlds together. MF quotes. I think this timestamp is right around when he was talking about the quarterbacks. I purposefully asked him about the quarterbacks just to see what his response was going to be, to see if he got swept up in the Jaden Daniels hype last year or not. Clearly he did not. And that's okay, right? But he offered up the low-hanging fruit of defenses now have a second year. They got tape on them. And I was like, And MF quotes, he must have caught it. And yeah, I just, that was one of those moments where I just had to remind myself, he's a guest. Let him, respect his opinion and let him have it, right? Let him have his opinion. And boy, if I was on his show though, whoa, that would not have, it would not have fly. It would not have flown. That's for sure. It would not, that was not going to fly. Right. But MF Quotes is talking about that whole sequence right there where you could tell I was shaking my head and I wanted to say something, but I didn't say anything. Darnell Kelly. Um, oh man, this whole time, let me see. Okay, you guys can see me. I couldn't see myself. I was like, you guys couldn't see me that whole time? Yes, you could. Darnell Kelly, 9568. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, it was lit in Vegas for the Alvarez Triple G fight. I bet it was. I mean, I was a big Triple G fan. I was a big Triple G fan. And you already know anytime Canelo fights, it's going to be a big draw because those Mexicans, they show up and they show out for Canelo every time. They love boxing. So anytime you get a Canelo fight, a big one, it's like that fight in September with Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. That's going to be massive. That might be my last opportunity for the foreseeable future to catch a mega fight in Vegas and get that atmosphere. That's why I asked him, should I go? And I'm still mulling over it because we may have to take advantage of this because there may not be another opportunity for this to transpire. The sport has died down so much that I don't know if you're going to get another opportunity to get a mega fight like this for the next decade plus. Like, who else can get that kind of draw? Canelo's 34 years old. He's only got so many more fights left in him before he hangs it up or before he is able to be in a position where you want to see him and he's not past his prime. I mean, he's probably already past his prime as is, but he's still a damn good fighter right now. I don't know how many more Canelo Alvarez fights we have where we feel like he's worth the price of admission. So I could only imagine it was lit for that Canelo Triple G fight. Mamba Fats, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. So he's not a hater. I understand where you're coming from, but I agree with him in this regard. ESPN, they chase, and look, I don't fault them for this because if you're going to spend money on personalities, you're going to spend on people that you know are going to bring value to your network. And how do you do that? By making sure they already have a base, right? There are a ton of people who do not watch ESPN but love Cam Newton's show and love Gilbert Arenas' show. And so what does ESPN do? To get that audience to watch ESPN, because otherwise they wouldn't watch ESPN, you bring those guys onto the program. I get him talking about Gilbert Arenas. And Gilbert Arenas is wrong 95% of the time. He just talks out of the side of his neck. If you've ever watched his podcast, it's craziness, pure craziness. I'm not a big fan of his podcast because he just be talking shit, right? That doesn't mean he doesn't know basketball, but he be talking shit. And to his point, like literally the day before, he called Carl Anthony Towns a bitch, which you could do on your show, right? Do whatever you want, say whatever you want. It's your show. But then the next day he's in a suit, which he looks weird in, right? He's in his big suit on First Take talking about the NBA, playoffs. And you're just like, what is he doing here? Right? It's just weird to see that, but like ESPN, it feels like they got to pick a side. And They're right now, it feels like they're trying to be cool. You know, whatever's cool, whatever's trending, that's what they want to do. And again, they're all about eyeballs. It's almost like they lost. They were supposed to be the standard and the barometer for what is like, what is, I'm trying to find the right word. Tasteful entertainment, sports entertainment. They were supposed to be the standard for that. It seems like they've thrown that out of the window at the expense of trying to chase eyeballs and maximizing the dollars that they're spending on these personalities. I'm going to spend on Pat McAfee. I'm going to spend a boatload on Stephen A. Smith. Doesn't leave you a lot of money to build around them. So you got to find ways to do it somewhere. I don't want to say cheaply, right? But you got to find ways to do it that's going to be entertaining, that's going to bring eyeballs there, and still keep you in a pocket where you're cool to the younger demographic, but you're not losing the older demographic. But it feels like, to hell with the older demographic. Let's just try to get as many of these young, 16 to 34 or 16 to 44-year-olds watching this. To hell with the 50 and the 55-year-olds. Let them watch Pardon the Interruption, right? So I get it. From his standpoint, I don't think he's hating at all. But at the end of the day, ESPN is, doing the thing that companies often do. And I got to credit them, because sometimes you see companies be unwilling to change because this is the way we've always done it. And that's how you end up being Monkey Ward or Montgomery Ward. That's how you end up being Kmart. On top, that's how you end up being Sears, right? You're on top for this amount of time. You feel like you can't be touched. You see this young punk coming from a mile away, but you're like, he can't touch me. I'm Montgomery Ward. He can't touch me. I'm Kmart. And all of a sudden, that young guy comes in here and he's doing it in this young, innovative way. And all of a sudden, customers are flocking to them. And you're like, wait a minute. They ain't shopping here no more. Now we got to switch it up. Now it's too late. You waited too late. And so, they got Fox Sports 1 over there trying to do the combative thing and have all these shows that are out here that are super opinionated and kind of following the model that ESPN started. And so ESPN, like, there's a lot of competition now that's not on cable television, right? Like Fox Sports 1 is the only competition ESPN has. But there's so much competition just on YouTube. Like, all of those personalities that ESPN has gotten rid of with all these layoffs to bring in all of these high-profile athletes, ex-athletes, to pay Stephen A. Smith, to pay, Pat McAfee. They had to cut some people, some good people, some good personalities. Well, those people went to YouTube, and they still have a large following. And you've got other, entities that have large followings. They just had Quentin Richardson. They just had Q on the Pat McAfee show. He's got a really popular podcast, the Knuckleheads, right? KG and Paul Pierce have a show. And then you got the All the Smoke show. I think that's on Showtime, right? And so there's so many different places where you can get. I love Jeff Teague's podcast, the 520 Club. Love that shit, right? I don't watch it all the time, but I watch it as much as I can, right? I watched that before I watched ESPN. They had Jeff Teague on ESPN. Well, Pat McAfee did. I'd rather listen to Jeff Teague. Like, Jeff Teague actually knows ball. He actually talks ball reasonably. I'd rather him be up there than damn Gilbert Arenas. Does that make me a hater? I don't think he's a hater. I just think he's saying, what the hell is Gilbert Arenas doing up there? I know 50,000 more qualified and better people that you could put on show for 5 minutes than damn Gilbert Arenas. That's all he was saying. But I digress. Anyway, that was that episode, and that was a lot of fun for me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. So we'll end this show talking a little Commanders real quick. Give you a little update on Noah Brown's injury. Now, look, I don't have anything concrete here, so if you tuned in looking for that, I'm sorry. Here's what I do have, though. I think I have good news. So I got two pieces of information that I'm running with, and I'm putting this out in the atmosphere because I told you I'm all about the good vibes and the good juju, right? I was nervous, and I'm still a tick nervous, but one, all right. Noah Brown in his injury might not be as bad as we were led to believe. Why, you ask? Because John Keim on his podcast, the most recent podcast episode, he basically said that, and look, I don't want to put words in John Keim's mouth. I'm telling you exactly what Keim said. He said he does not think the Noah Brown injury is that serious. Like, it's not season ending, doesn't think he's going to miss significant time. He says, I do not know what the injury is. I do not know the extent of the injury. So it could be a serious injury. But he said from the feeling that he's getting because of how the information has not trickled out and how everything seems to be somewhat business as usual, he's led to believe that this is not a serious injury. And I said this earlier when we were on Louie's Lurking in the comment section that I didn't think it was a serious injury myself because we probably would have heard something by now. Like, how often is it that a guy, tears his ACL and he does it during mandatory minicamp, and then we don't find out about it until the start of training camp a month later? That never happens, right? If somebody has a significant injury, that information is usually out within 48 to 72 hours, right? So my guess is he dodged a bullet. We dodged a bullet, okay? But can't run with that. And as John Keim said multiple times, he is not reporting that Noah Brown dodged a bullet and there's no significant injury. He says just the feeling that he has, his gut feeling is that this is not a serious injury. Okay. I'm going to add to that this post came out probably 10, 15 minutes. I'm kind of glad I waited to do this video because I was going to throw this up earlier, but I'm kind of glad I waited because Ben Standic had this tweet that he posted probably 10, 15 minutes before I decided to start this thing. And so, as you can see, this right here is a flyer for Noah Brown. And if you can read this, Ben Standic says, still no official injury update on Noah Brown. That we haven't received one suggests he avoided a serious issue, as does his upcoming participation in this event from his IG for what it's worth. And you can see here, he put this out on his, if I'm hurting, right? If I have a lacerated kidney that I re-injured from last year, which made me miss the final, 8 to 10 games of the season, however long he was out, the back end of the season and all of the postseason. If I tore my ACL, if I blew out my Achilles, if I tore my hamstring, am I going to be hosting football night in Mount Olive a week later? All right. This Friday, Noah Brown going to be taking photos and autographs. Is he going to be doing that? Is he going to be a part of a girls' clinic and co-ed flag football game and all of that? Is he going to be a part of all of that? If he was nursing a serious injury, my guess is hell no, he wouldn't be doing that. This has got to either be canceled or y'all going to have to, the party's going to have to go on without Noah Brown. And I guarantee you somebody's going to show up to this thing just for the sake of catching up with Noah Brown, just to make sure he's okay. But this tells me, and again, I'm all about context clues and drawing inferences. That's part of the thing that we do here on the Louie T Network. All this piece in the you piecing all of this together, Noah Brown's okay. All right. Again, we can't be 100% sure about this. Noah Brown could show up to this event in an air cast, right? And now you're saying, well, what the hell's wrong with him? Don't know. Doesn't feel like it's significant, though. Doesn't feel like this is oh man, Noah Brown's out for the season. I think you can wipe your brow. That's all I'm telling you. I think you can wipe your brow. I think Noah Brown is going to be A-OK. So there's your Noah Brown update. I think we dodged a bullet, folks. I think we dodged a bullet. Yes. Don't run with that and don't get too carried away. I feel 75% sure Noah Brown does not have a significant injury. It's an injury, but it's not a significant one. I feel 75% sure about that. We'll find out in 35 days or so when training camp starts. But just know, like, you've watched enough football. You've been around the game long enough. If he had torn something, if something catastrophic had happened, Ian Rappaport would have reported this by now. Adam Schefter, one of these insiders would have already gotten wind of it somehow, some way, or the team would have leaked the information and said, yeah, Noah Brown's out. And John Keim even said, you're not getting an update until training camp. Whether it's significant or not, you're not getting an update till training camp. I feel pretty good about where we are with Noah Brown. This new light that has been shed on this situation, I feel confident. We should be good. Man, if I'm wrong here, it's going to sting. But I'm drawing inferences, man. This is what I do. So take it for what it's worth. Like Ben Standic said, for what it's worth. Somebody's going to be at that event in Mount Olive to check on Noah Brown. Hopefully we'll get all the information we need, or just one photo, a picture, a video of him. If he looks no worse for the wear, there you have it. Right. So on Friday, this coming Friday, be checking your social media, because someone's going to go on Noah Brown's page. He's probably going to post pictures. He's probably going to post a video, or somebody that's at the event is going to post a video or a picture. Just be checking your social media on Friday and into Saturday, because we're going to get confirmation that Noah Brown's A-OK. That's my guess. But I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post, or here on Season 2, Episode 1 of Summer Series Recap. And look forward to chopping it up with you the next time we have Summer Series Episode 2. We're going to react to that a day or two after that has been put out for mass consumption. So I will see you guys next time. Until then, you guys take care. Have a good one. Peace.